Today I'm going to show you how I make my homemade oil-free granola. So it's not technically oil-free, it's processed oil-free. So I'm not using coconut oil or any other kind of, you know, like butter or oil or anything like that. I'm using almond butter in place of that. If you want to be completely oil-free, you could use pureed bananas or applesauce in place of the nut butter that I'm using. You could use peanut butter, or if you have someone in your family that has nut allergies, you could use sunflower butter and the seeds instead of the almonds and things that I'm going to be putting in mine. And like I said, you could also use pureed bananas or applesauce in place of that oil. So I'm okay with the amount of nut butter that I'm putting in this. I don't have a problem with that. I don't like refined processed oils. If I can stay away from them, I do. I also don't want, you know, even though I use vegan butter for certain things, I would prefer to have a whole food ingredient rather than something that's been processed. Vegan butter is still processed to an extent. So I'm gonna make a double batch of this because I go through it pretty quickly. I eat a lot of this. So the recipe calls for, hold please, light. Hey guys, it's Stacey. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make homemade granola. So much cheaper than the store-bought stuff. Tastes so much better. You can alter it to suit your tastes or your needs. If someone has allergies, you can alter that. And it's a good way to use up oats if you have them. If you have kids that don't particularly care for oatmeal because they don't like the texture, it's mushy. So you could use it to make granola or muesli, which, big secret here, muesli is unbaked granola. So you can take either one of those, whether it's the muesli, which is raw and not baked, or you can take the granola, you can put them in a bowl, add milk to them, and treat them just like you would regular cereals. So much healthier for your kids, not a ton of sugar, and you're using whole food ingredients. So I'm gonna give you my recipe, kind of what I do. I will try to figure out how much I use of each ingredient, because most of the time I just eyeball things, and this is one of those things that I eyeball. But there's some basic ratios as far as the oats and other ingredients, or you know, the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. So I will try to see if I can figure out what those are, write them down, and come up with a recipe for you if you want to make this exactly the way that I do. But play around with it. You know, there's something I put in it that you don't like, or you didn't like the way it came out, or whatever. If you don't have an ingredient, that's fine. There's, you know, the basic ingredients for this are oats and some type of nut butter, or if you don't want to use a nut butter, you could use a seed butter like sunflower seed butter, or you can use oil if you don't have a problem with refined oils. I just try to stay away from them in things like this. I would prefer to have a whole food ingredient. So, whoops, sorry. I would prefer to have a whole food ingredient like a nut butter, which is just, the ones that I buy are literally just almonds that have been zhuzhed into almond butter, or you know, if you like peanut butter or whatever. If you have someone that's allergic, again, replace it. If you want to go completely oil-free, you could use pureed bananas or applesauce and in place of the nut butter, so you could be completely oil-free with this. So I think that's all the blabbing I needed to do about this. I'll probably blab some more, but I'm gonna get my oven turned on, and I'm gonna put a few ingredients in here, and then we'll get the wet ingredients going, and I'll come back. Okay, I've got my oven preheating to 350, and I'm gonna start with getting some of the dry ingredients going in this bowl. So the base recipe is 2 cups of organic rolled oats. You could use quick oats for this. It may not have the same texture. You could use thick rolled oats, but again, it's gonna have a thicker texture. I find the rolled oats to be just perfect. Still cut oats are gonna be too hard for this. So the base of the recipe is 2 cups. I'm gonna do 4 because I eat a lot of this. So I don't want to have to make it again in a week because I ran through it so quickly. So this is a 1/2 cup measure. So I need 8 of these to equal 4 cups. That's 4. Okay. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use the rest of these quinoa flakes. Probably just put a half cup. Well, I'll go ahead and put whatever's left in there. A little more than half a cup. I just like adding different types of grains, and quinoa is high in protein, so I like adding that to my oatmeal and granola because it's just healthy. It's good. I need another measuring cup. Hold please. I'm gonna add some flax seed to this. So I'm gonna put 1/4 cup. You could probably do a half a cup, a 1/4 cup per batch. So I'm gonna do half a cup for a double batch. Kind of mix that up a little bit. Just trying to add in some extra healthy items here. So let's see, what else did I want to add? I'm gonna go ahead and add our cinnamon. So it's a tablespoon, it's a lot of cinnamon. Tablespoon per batch, so I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons. Stir that up. And you could do pumpkin pie spice if you wanted to. Oh, that's another thing. If you wanted to do a pumpkin themed granola, you could do pumpkin seeds and pumpkin pie spice and then add pureed pumpkin for your wet ingredient and maple syrup. And that would be a really great combination there too. So, okay, let's go over to the wet ingredients and get those started. Okay, so per batch I'm doing 1/3 cup of almond butter or whatever wet ingredient you want to use. So, like I said, you could do pureed banana, applesauce, like sunflower butter, pumpkin puree. You can't really replace it with something like, well, maybe you can. I don't think it would work because I think it would eventually evaporate. Things like water, juice, milk, stuff like that. Because you need something that's gonna like stick to the oats and stay with it, not evaporate once it's been cooked in the oven, baked. So, and then I'm using, I'm gonna use maple syrup if I can get it open. You could use date syrup, would be great for this. That's a great whole food syrup because it's nothing but dates and water. I do have some, but I prefer, in this, I prefer the, man, that is stuck on there. Okay. Spin. So I don't want this to like fry, and I'm gonna take it off of this until I get this maple syrup open because I am having some serious issues with it. Well, I may have to postpone this until my husband gets home and can open this bottle. I think the syrup got around the rim or something and got stuck. Okay, I'll be back when I can get the maple syrup open. Okay, I got another bottle of syrup, so it's not so difficult to get open. Figure that other one out later. So, same thing, 1/3 cup of syrup per batch. So since I'm doing a double batch, I'm gonna do 2. And like I was saying, you could use honey or date syrup, agave, whatever you have, whatever you want. You just want to melt these two together, and then I'm going to add, while I'm letting that kind of come together a little bit, I'm going to add some vanilla extract. And this is one that I made a couple years ago that I've been using and then filling back up. And I like a lot of vanilla in this too, like a lot of flavoring. So I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of vanilla. Whoa, did you see that fire from the vanilla dripping on it? Let me get my little mini whisk. Let's see about getting this incorporated a little bit faster. And you can add as little or as much vanilla flavoring as you like. If you don't want vanilla in it, you don't have to put it in there. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. You have a maple extract, you could use that. There are a ton of recipes out there for homemade granolas and different flavors and combinations and stuff. This is just my favorite. So because that nut butter didn't have much oil in it, it's coming out a little thicker than what I need it to be. So I'm gonna add some more maple syrup to it. You just have to judge for yourself how much you think you need. It needs to be pretty runny, like, because you want it to coat all of the oats. You don't want it to be like big clusters of clumps. Pretty good, but I'm gonna put a little bit more in there. Eyeballing it. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, I'm not really cooking this, I'm just melting them together. Let's go back over to the dry bowl and we'll get these incorporated. Okay, so before I pour the liquid ingredients in here, I want to get my nuts into the bowl. So I'm not gonna bother like chopping these. I don't want like huge big pieces of walnuts, but I don't want them to be like really fine either. You know, make that choice for yourself, however you like it. I would say do about a half a cup to a cup of each type of nut. I mean, well, that's kind of what I do. Like, I want a total of about that amount. If you put much more, then you just end up with a lot of nuts. Maybe you like it that way, I don't know. But I want the flavor of the nuts, but I don't want it to be just, you know, like flavored candied nuts. So, and yes, I'm eyeballing it again. It's just what I do. I've been cooking this way a long time and it's hard to break that habit. So I just add things until it looks right. Just making sure I don't have any like almonds that look old. Like if they're shriveled or dark, they usually are older. Let's see what that looks like. I think that's pretty good. Okay, and then I'm gonna add some pumpkin seeds. You could also add some chia seeds to this. That would be good too. That would also help it kind of stick together, because when chia seeds are wet, they make a gel-like consistency that you could use in this that would help it like stick together a little more if you like that kind of texture. So I just put 3/4 of a cup of pumpkin seeds in here. All right, I think that's gonna do it. So I'm gonna get the liquid ingredients over here. Giving them one last stir. Actually not going to add all of that yet. I want to see what that looks like, because this looks like a lot for this amount of granola. I'm going to mix it first because I don't want it to have too much. And if it looks like it's going to be, I may add some more oats and make a even bigger batch. You do want it to be wet enough that it's clumping together, so it does need some more. But again, I'm working. Oh, it smells so good already. Oh. Stuff is good. I think I'm smelling the maple syrup and that vanilla. That homemade vanilla is so good. If you've never made it before, check out my video on how to make homemade vanilla. It's super easy, like crazy easy actually, but a lot more economical in the long run, and it tastes so much better. You get to control the quality of the ingredients. So it looks pretty good. Add just a little bit more. Actually, I'm gonna add all of it and then I'm gonna add some more oats. And that's just kind of what you have to do. Like, I don't want to waste, you know, and I don't want to have to figure out what to do with the rest of the wet ingredients. Put them in a bottle till next time or something. I just want to use it all. And then I'll just add some more oats. Take a slightly bigger batch. See what that looks like. Yeah, I need more. I think it's because I had to add so much more maple syrup to thin that almond butter out. So this is probably going to end up being a triple batch here. And I just put 1.5 cups of oats in there. Wow, it smells so good. My sister and her co-workers used to ask me to make this for them. They like to snack on it. So sometimes I'll add dried fruit, and that's one of the things I'm going to tell you at the end is, you know, you can add some dried cranberries or raisins or whatever other chopped dried fruit you want to add. You just want to make it, you know, a little more substantial, or make it stretch a little further. You just have some dried fruit that you want to use, whatever. But she didn't like the dried fruit, so she just had me make it with just the nuts and seeds like this. Hi, sis. So that's looking about right. I think I may add a little bit more oats. We're gonna call it done. So if you got into it this far and you wanted, you know, more nuts, higher nut to oats ratio, you could add some more nuts, but I think it's still probably good for me as far as that is concerned. So, okay, I'm gonna get some of this stuff out of the way so I can get my sheet pan out, some parchment paper on it, and we'll get this spread out and ready to go into the oven. Okay, so I have a large sheet pan here covered with parchment paper. I use unbleached parchment paper most of the time. So you just want to cover this with something that it's not going to stick to, because this is going to be sticky. So aluminum foil, it is going to stick to it. It's going to stick to your pan if you don't put something on it. If you don't have parchment paper, you could spray it with some spray oil, or put a little oil on a paper towel and wipe it down just to give you like that non-stick layer. I would put foil over it, then do the oil if you have to do that, because then at least if it's sticking to something, you can pull the foil off and you're not spending half the night scrubbing the pan, because this is very sticky and you don't want to have to be in the kitchen cleaning that up. So I'm going to get this onto the pan and spread it into a thin layer. And I don't want to put all of it because I did make such a big batch. I need it to be a pretty thin layer. So I want to see how much I have here first. Impeccably clean hands always. If you don't know me yet, you may not know that I am constantly washing my hands. Okay, let's get the rest. I think it'll all fit on here, because this is a pretty big sheet pan. It's not like a regular 9 by 13 or whatever those are. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it all on there. Oh my goodness. I wish I had smell-o-vision or something, because this stuff smells so good. It's probably a little thicker than what I would like it to be, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. You know, I'm gonna stop a couple of times through the baking process and give it a toss, you know, stir it around. So I think it'll be okay. And if it comes out clumpier than what I like, then I can always take it and put some of it on another pan, stick it on the bottom rack or something. But I think it'll be okay. It's not too bad. All that off of there. Don't want to waste it. You know, store-bought cereals are so expensive. And this is really great with yogurt and berries, which is how I eat it most of the time, but in a bowl with some soy milk or almond milk is just amazing. Love, love, love it. You don't have to put anything on it. Like, you don't have to put any stevia in your bowl or anything like that, because this is sweet enough as it is. And it doesn't have all the fillers and processed junk and excess processed sugar and all that stuff that's not good for you or your kids. So, all right, I'm gonna get it into the oven. So the granola ended up in the oven at 350 for 30 minutes, and every 10 minutes I stirred it. Just checked on it. Just want to check on it like 2 or 3 times during the process to make sure it's not, you know, getting too dark or whatever. So it's got some nice little chunky bits there. Just like store granola ends up with. So I'm gonna let this cool, and then I'll put it into a container. And like I said, if you wanted to add some dried fruit, you certainly could. I wait until I'm making my berries and granola and yogurt, and I sprinkle this on top, and if I feel in the mood for some dried fruit, then I add that as well.